hard. Okay.
I'm Brent.
My name is Karina.
I think God created me to influence the people around me in a positive way.
My friends describe me as a fun guy. I like to have fun. I play joke around a lot.
I do believe that he made me on purpose, and I believe that because God has a plan for everybody.
I think me specifically, God created me to be that voice for the unheard.
Yeah, I definitely believe God made me on purpose.
My name is Olivia.
My name is Max Otto.
My name is Catalina, and I was made on purpose.
Hey, what's up, United? My name is Pastor Nate Ritchie. I am the student pastor at our Lutz campus. And tonight, we are in our last week of our Made on Purpose series, which means the month of January is almost over. And with January being such a big month for goal setting, let me ask you this question. How are your goals going? How are your 2022 goals coming along? Listen, raise your hand if you're saying, you know what, actually, my goals are going pretty good. Like, I'm sticking to it. They're going good. It's going great. Everything is great. Hey, good for you. Now, raise your hand if you're like, well, my goals, they're not great, but they're not awful. Like, I'm still trying to stick to them. Listen, that's great. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You're still moving in the right direction. And now for the rest of us. Let's be honest, all right? Let's be honest with ourselves. Let's be honest with those around us. Raise your hand if you're like, yeah, well, I tried. I mean, 2023 is definitely going to be my year. Listen, I get it. I've been there. But with all the jokes aside, I want to encourage you that, listen, don't throw in the towel just yet. Listen, get back up and keep pushing forward. Listen, I know it's easy to quit on your goals when the year doesn't start off your way, but get back up and keep pushing forward, because many of us, listen, we've set some goals that could change our lives. We've set some health or fitness goals. We've set some educational goals, some sports goals, maybe even small practical goals like, you know, I don't want to watch 7 hours of Netflix before bed. Listen, all of those goals, they are goals that could impact our now, but they could also impact our future. And so do yourself a favor and don't give up. Invite someone in to keep you and hold you accountable to your goals and help you accomplish them. Listen, but as great as these goals are, I want to encourage you to create one more, a spiritual goal. Listen, whether you have created goals this year or you haven't created goals this year, it is important to create this one goal, not any spiritual goal, but I want us all to set the same goal, a goal that could change your life, and if we all committed to it, a goal that could change United. And here's the goal. In 2022, I want to begin to step into the purpose that God has for me. You see, we've been in this series called Made on Purpose, where we have learned that God has made you on purpose and that God has made you for a purpose. But tonight, I want to take that a step further. Tonight, I want to talk about how God has made you with a purpose. That God has created you with a specific purpose in mind. You know, I remember the first time I ever heard this about myself. You see, I was in 10th grade, and I was in a youth group similar to United. And there was this pastor, and this pastor was preaching to a room, and he was saying, hey, if you're in this room tonight, God has created you with a specific purpose in mind. And I remember sitting there and hearing that, and I thought to myself, you know what? Like, I want to believe that. I really do. I want to believe that, but I don't. And you see, the reason I didn't believe it is because I looked at myself and I said, you know what, I don't even know what my gifts are. I don't know why God would create me for a specific purpose. You know, I looked at myself and I was like, do I even have gifts? Has God even given me anything to use? Why would he want to use me? And I remember also being in a place in my life where, you know, things weren't going great. You know, they weren't going bad by any means, but they weren't going great. You see, it seemed like day after day, I wasn't living. I was really just surviving. And so I walked up to the pastor after the message and I asked him, I said, sir, I know you just said that I was made with a specific purpose, but what is it? Because I feel like I wasn't. I feel like I wasn't made with a specific purpose. It's hard for me to believe that for what my life looks like right now. That if you saw what my life looked like, you would be saying something different. And you know, he looked at me and he paused for a second. And he said, Nate, you're having a tough time believing it because you're choosing not to believe it. You're having a tough time seeing that God has created you for a specific purpose because you haven't chosen to step into your purpose. And that really, right then when he said that to me, something clicked. Something clicked and it showed me that, you know what? The reason that I hadn't seen it yet is because I hadn't chosen to see it. You know, if you're in a place tonight and you're sitting there thinking, well, I'm having a hard time believing that God created me for a specific purpose, I believe it's because it's a choice. You see, God's purpose for your life, it doesn't just happen on its own, but it's a choice that has to be intentionally made. And tonight, each and every one of us here at United will have a choice to set this goal and a choice to start walking in that purpose that God has for us. And this choice is actually one that we find being made all throughout the Bible. And so I want to look at a story of a man who had a choice to either hold on to the purpose that God had for him or to give that purpose away. And this story, it's found in the book of Genesis, in chapter 25, and we see these two characters named Jacob and Esau. And Jacob and Esau, they were brothers. And what's important about Jacob and Esau for this story is that Esau was older than Jacob. Esau was actually the oldest boy in the family. And why this is important is because during this time, the oldest boy in the family received something called a birthright. And in this birthright, it had many different levels. It had many different things that was included in this birthright. One being that Esau would become the head of the family when his dad would pass away. And so it was about position. The second thing was that Esau would inherit the family's property. The next is that Esau would receive a double portion of the inheritance and wealth. And what this means is that the inheritance and wealth, it would be scattered throughout the siblings, right? It'd be scattered throughout the siblings, but with whatever the siblings got, Esau would receive a double portion of everybody else. But the last thing that was included in this birthright was probably the best of it all. You see, what was included in this birthright was a special relationship with God. A special relationship with God. You see, during this time, God would deal strictly with the head of the family. And so by Esau inheriting this birthright, he would become the head of the family, therefore inheriting a special relationship with God in heaven. And so this is everything that Esau would receive when his father passed away. In other words, this is what Esau was called to. This was his plan and this was his purpose. It was to inherit a position in his family and a special relationship with God. But let's jump into the story and see what Esau does with his purpose. In Genesis chapter 25, starting with verse 29, it says, "Once when Jacob was cooking stew, Esau came in from the field and he was exhausted. And Esau said to Jacob, 'Let me eat some of the red stew, for I am exhausted.' Jacob said, 'Sell me your birthright now.'" Verse 32, Esau said, "I am about to die. Of what use is a birthright to me?" Okay, let's stop right there. Listen, Esau is being a little dramatic here. You see, Esau's not about to die. This is equivalent to you after not eating for a total of like 3 hours, looking at your mom and saying, "Mom, I am starving." you're not starving, you're just hungry. In our defense, though, I don't know about you, when I get hungry, I become something known as hangry, right? Like, who out there would say you become hangry when you get hungry? The combination of hungry and angry. Like, you become a person that people don't want to be around. Yeah, that's me. And that's Esau here. You see, Esau is that type of person that would become hangry. But he not only becomes hangry, Esau also becomes a little unintelligent. Let's look at what happens. In verse 33, it says, Jacob said, "Swear to me now." So Esau swore to him and sold his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and lentil stew, and he ate and drank and rose and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. Think of how crazy this is. Because Esau was hungry in the moment, he trades his birthright for a bowl of soup, for a bowl of Campbell's chicken noodle. He trades his birthright for soup. He took what was planned for him and traded it for what was easy in the immediate. He traded his purpose for pleasure. He traded his calling for convenience. You know, after reading this story this week, it hit me. You see, it's so easy for us to sit here and look at Esau being dumb and judge him. Judge him for trading his purpose for pleasure. But haven't we all been guilty of doing the exact same thing? Haven't we been all guilty of doing the exact same thing? That there has been a time in our lives where we traded our purpose for what sounded good in the moment. But instead of it being a bowl of soup, it was going out and partying with our friends. Instead of it being a bowl of soup, it was going too far with our boyfriend or our girlfriend. Instead of it being a bowl of soup, it was going against what our parents told us to do. Instead of it being a bowl of soup, it was watching things that we have no business watching. You see, all of us have been guilty of trading our purpose for pleasure or our calling for convenience. But here's what I want to encourage you with tonight. That the purpose that God has for you, listen, it's still there. It's still waiting for you to step into it. It's not too late. You're not too far gone, and tonight can be that night when you choose to step into it. And listen, when you make this choice, your life, it doesn't become easier. But you don't want easy. Listen to me, you don't want easy. Because what is easy is rarely rewarding. What is easy is rarely rewarding. Your purpose, it is going to make you step out of your comfort zone. Your purpose, it is going to sometimes be inconvenient. It's going to be hard. It's going to be painful, and maybe even sometimes it's not going to be fun. But wow, is it rewarding? Your purpose, it is rewarding. The joy that you will receive when you step into your purpose, listen, the joy is indescribable. The peace that you get knowing that you are doing what God has created you to do, it's amazing. When you choose God's purpose over your pleasure, His calling over your convenience, your life, it changes forever. But I know what you're thinking. The question that many of us are thinking right now. How? How do I choose His purpose for my life? Like, what if I don't even know what His purpose for my life even is? Listen, those are great questions, and what I will say first is that none of us really know what God has in store for us. None of us really know what God has purposed and planned for us. See, He doesn't really reveal it all in one moment. We start seeing His plan for our life when we start taking steps of faithfulness down His path. So whether you're there and you're sitting and you're thinking, you know what, I have a tiny idea of what God has created me for, or you're sitting there thinking, I have no idea what God has created me for, the how you choose His purpose is the same. And it's by doing three things. The first, it's by serving others. It's by serving others. You see, your purpose isn't just for you, but it's also for those around you. It's so that you can have a great impact on the people around you. So we do this by serving other people, and you can do this in your own house or in your school by simply putting others' needs ahead of your own. But there are also many opportunities in our community for you to serve. For instance, we have GFC Serve Saturday every second Saturday of the month at your Grace Family Church location. You have things like the Dream Center that's down near our Ybor campus. You have New Life Warehouse, Metropolitan Ministries. There are opportunities after opportunities waiting for you to jump in and serve the people in our community. So the first one is by serving others. The second way that we step into God's purpose for our life is by using and growing our gifts. A great way of stepping into the purpose that God has for you is by using and growing your gifts. God has given each and every one of us gifts. Gifts that were made for your good and for His glory. You know, and some of us might not have even identified what these gifts are, but that's okay. You see, whether you need to identify your gifts, start using your gifts, and begin growing the gifts that you have, you do this by using them, by going out and taking risks, by being bold and doing God's work. And one way that you can do this is by volunteering on the weekend, something that we call youth crew, where you can go and volunteer in our zone ministry, our clubhouse. You can go and just volunteer in different areas of our church to find out what God has given you and start using the gifts that He has given you. Or you can come and volunteer here on Wednesday nights. That if you talk to your campus lead, you can go and ask them, hey, what can I do when I show up on Wednesday night? That's a great way of discovering your gifts. Or there's also something that if you believe that you have a musical gift, or you want to find out if you have a musical gift, we do something here at Grace called Grace Music Academy, and that's something that you can sign up and start discovering and using and growing your gifts. You know, I think of someone like Zonti, and many of you know Zonti, or at least you've seen Zonti. If you've come to Clash Camp, Zonti is the guy that did that amazing rap performance. Well, something that you might not know is Zonti used to be a part of United, used to be a part of the youth ministry here at Grace Family Church. And it was through a message very similar to this one where God started working on Zonti's heart. And he felt like, you know what, God was calling him into something more. And so Zonti started using and growing his gifts, but Zonti didn't just wake up one day and become an incredible rapper. Zonti started working at it. Zonti started being faithful every day and growing the gift in which God had for him. The only way for you to start walking in the purpose that God has for you is by just going and being faithful and doing and using the gifts and discovering the gifts that He has made you with. The last thing for us to do is to share Jesus with others. To share Jesus with others. You see, Jesus is the best gift God has ever given us. And whether His purpose for us is inside the church or outside the church, it will always involve sharing our faith with those around us. See, ways that you can do this is by inviting people to United. Inviting just one person to United next week. Sharing with other people what Jesus has done in your life, or by joining or starting a club like First Priority or FCA at your school. Listen, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for a friend inviting me to youth group. And I believe that in your school right now, that there are people waiting for your invitation. And so my challenge for you tonight is to go out and find that one person. Find that one person that you can invite to come in so they can start learning that they were made on purpose, that they were made for a purpose, and that they were made with a specific purpose. Listen, if you're here tonight, God has a specific purpose for you. God has a specific purpose for you. And it is your choice tonight whether to step into that calling, to step into that purpose, or to not. But the way that you step into it, it's by serving others. It's by using and growing your gifts. And it's by sharing Jesus with others. Listen, all of these opportunities that I've listed, the serving opportunities, the opportunities to use and grow your gifts, the opportunities to jump in and start a club or join a club in your school. Listen, our United team did much of the work by putting them into one spot. And if you go to our Instagram page at GFC United, in the bio, you can find a link where you can find each of these opportunities that I talked about. My challenge to you is to just choose one of them. Start by just choosing one of them and start seeing what God has in store for you. I believe tonight that I am talking to future doctors, future nurses, future pastors, future worship leaders, future missionaries, businessmen and women. I'm talking to students that are going to change and impact this world for God's glory. But it all starts with a choice. It all starts with a choice of calling over convenience, a choice of purpose over pleasure, a choice of becoming all that God has for you, a choice that needs to be made tonight. Listen, if you're watching in Lutz, Land O'Lakes, Temple Terrace, South Tampa, Ybor, or Carrollwood, or even online, you were made on purpose. Start living in God's purpose. Hey, across all of our campuses, I want to invite the campus lead to come up and close out the service.